So here we have the three basic forms of linear equations. They are point-slope form, slope-intercept form, and standard form. In both point-slope and in slope-intercept form, we can see that we have slope. And so what that means is this value of m is always replaced with or substituted with the value of the slope in your equation. Now, in particular, in point-slope form, we see we have point slope. And so that means there is a point on the line that's used for the equation of that, for that linear equation. And so that point, x1, y1, is found in this linear equation. Now, in the slope-intercept form, we have this parameter b. b stands for the y-intercept. And now a y-intercept is where the line would cross the y-axis, would cross the vertical axis. And we'll take a look at that more in future videos. And then lastly, standard form, we have these parameters a, b, and c. Now a, b, and c must all be integers. Now integers, of course, integers are whole numbers. We could have 1, we could have 2, we could have 5, we could have -8. So a, b, and c are integers, and in particular, a must be a positive integer. So there you go, the three forms of linear equations. Here I have all three forms of linear equations to describe the same line. I have standard form, 2x plus y equals 3. I have slope-intercept form, y equals -2x plus 3. And I have point-slope form, y minus 1 is -2 times the quantity x minus 1. Now, the only form of a line, the only equation that could possibly be different is point-slope form. Right now, this point-slope form is using point A as its point. And so if I had, let's say, a different point A, if I moved point A to a different spot, kept the same line, but now A is at -1, 5, the standard form is the same, 2x plus y equals 3. The slope-intercept form is the same, -2x plus 3. But then the point-slope form is different, and it's different to reflect this new value of A. A is now -1, 5, so therefore the point-slope form is y minus 5 is -2 times the quantity x minus -1. Here our job is to graph a line that's in point-slope form. We have y minus 1 is equal to 4 times the quantity x plus 2. Let's compare that to the general form of the point-slope. So m is the number that's next to the the quantity. So the slope here is 4. And what that means is, again, rise over run. You can think about this as 4 over 1. In other words, we're going to rise 4 units. For every 1 unit, we move to the right. Next, the point, I see I've got x minus 1 and y minus 1. Or sorry, y minus y1. Now, make special note of the fact that it's x minus x1. Here I've got x plus 2. In order to follow the pattern x minus 1, we'll need to change this up slightly. Instead of x plus 2, we can think about it as x minus -2. And so therefore the x-coordinate is x1 is -2. And the y-coordinate, well, the y-coordinate just follows the pattern, y minus y1 minus 1, so therefore our y-coordinate is just +1. So then let's graph our line. Let's start with the point. The point is x1 is -2, y1 is 1. So -2, 1. So back 2, and then up 1. So here we have our very first point, and then let's apply the slope. The slope is 4, so we can go up 4 and over 1. So there's one of our points. I'm kind of running out of graph room, so I can do the same in the reverse. Instead of going up 1, up 4, right 1, I can go left 1, down 4. And so now I have those points. I'll just connect the points and make a line. In this example, our job is to graph the line y equals negative 3 over 2x minus 1. First, identify the slope. In slope-intercept form, the slope is the number that's attached to the x. So in this case, our slope is negative 3 over 2. Now remember, slope is rise over run. And so what that means in this case is a negative 3 means we'll rise negative 3. In other words, we'll go down 3 and to the right 2. Now we have our slope. Now how do we start? Where do we begin? Slope-intercept form gives us plus b, that is the y-intercept. In this case, our y-intercept is negative 1. And what that means is a point on the graph is the point 0, negative 1. Every y-intercept that you deal with is going to have a 0 as its x-coordinate, because a y-intercept intercepts the y-axis when x is 0. In other words, it's every point along the y-axis, and those points have an x-coordinate of 0. Now all that's left to do is first plot the point. Again, our point is 0, negative 1, so 0 and negative 1 is right about there. Then we need to apply the slope. So we'll go down 3 and over 2. Down 3, 2, 3, and then over 2. So there's the next point, and you can continue going in the right direction. You can also go backwards. Instead of going down 3, right 2, you can go left 2, up 3. And so there we have a couple of points. We see that we're going to make a line that looks a little something like this. And there we go. All that's left to do is show it a line. We can add little arrows on the end. There we have the line y equals negative 3 over 2x minus 1. There are two ways to graph standard form equations. Here we have an equation 3x minus 6y is equal to negative 12. And right now it follows ax plus by equals c. So the first method is to rewrite this into slope-intercept form. So using algebra, we'll want to get it into form y equals mx plus b. So the first step will be to subtract 3x from both sides. Next, we'll divide both sides of the equation by negative 6y. Or rather, by negative 6. Now negative 6 divided by negative 6, that equals 1. And now we've got a fraction over on the other side, so let's split that up into two parts. And now let's simplify the fractions. We have y equals negative 3 divided by negative 6, that's just 1/2. So we have 1/2 x plus negative 12 divided by negative 12 divided by negative 6 is 2. And so here we have y equals 1/2 x plus 2. So now we have a slope of 1/2 and a y-intercept of 0, 2. So first we'll start at the y-intercept, 0, 2, and now we'll apply the slope of 1/2. Now that slope of 1/2 means we'll go up 1 and then right 2. Remember, it's rise over run, so vertical over horizontal. So up 1 and then over 2. There's one point. We can make another, and again if we choose. And then all that's left to do is to draw on the line. The other method for using standard form to draw the equation of the line is to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. The x-intercept is a point on the line that crosses the x-axis. Now that point will have a y-coordinate of 0. So to find the x-intercept, we know that the y-coordinate must be 0. If you take and plug in 0 into this equation, then you get 3x minus 0 is equal to negative 12. So that means 3x is equal to negative 12, and that means x must be equal to negative 4. To find the y-intercept, we'll do something kind of similar, except we'll set x equal to 0. So if negative 6y is equal to negative 12, that means y is equal to 2. And so now we have 2 points, negative 4, 0, and 0, 2. If we plot those points, we'll connect the dots and then we'll have the line. There's negative 4, 0, and 0, 2. And then all that's left to do is to connect the dots. And there we go. 2 ways to graph the equation of a line that's in standard form.